This is TJ with Tech Made Easy. Welcome to the channel. My channel is all about making things affordable, practical, and easy. Today we're going to review, I don't normally review distros, but in this one there's a few things that caught my eye with it. And it was one of the first Linux distributions I'd ever tried. I think you're going to be interested in seeing this review. And so let's go ahead, let's get on the desktop and let's review Peppermint OS. Okay, here we are at the desktop of Peppermint OS. I'm not going to show the install. It's a Calamari install, and I'll explain why I'm not showing the install. It's pretty basic. And if you're looking at getting into Linux, be sure to watch this. So one of the things is when I first moved from Windows to Linux, I went to Linux Mint, but then I also found Peppermint OS, so I put it on one of the kids' computers. Back then they were young and they just used the computer to get on the web, check their stuff at school. As they got older though, they wanted to play more games, so eventually I moved it off. And I liked Peppermint OS back then. It wasn't my main desktop, but I liked having it on the other computer for the kids. But I did notice that it wasn't getting updates. And one of the things I tried to run on it wouldn't run because of the updates. So, and then I found out that the developer of Peppermint OS had passed away, and that's one of the reasons why it wasn't being updated. And so I was excited that someone else took on the distro. And I actually almost a year ago, a little less, I went through. I was looking at a whole bunch of distros, wondering if I should switch from Linux Mint to something else, and then plus two, I had a laptop that I wanted to. I was looking for a lighter, trying to find the lightest Linux package I could, and so I did try Peppermint OS on there, but it just wasn't quite ready yet. I had some issues, and so when I found out this one for July came out of 23. I thought, wow, this is cool. But when I saw it being demoed by some of the other YouTubers, I noticed some issues. But before I go into that, one of the things I do like about this new OS, I do like the background. The backgrounds before, they were cool, but there's no way I'd want to keep them as a background. It's not a big deal to change your background, but this background, I could use this as a background. So I do like the way it looks, and I do like using XFCE. The Linux Mint that I have for my desktop is the XFCE version or distro of Linux Mint. So let's take a look at this, and I was really hoping the best for this, but as I saw it being reviewed, I noticed some issues that some of the reviewers were having, and I hate to say this, and I don't like to be a bearer of bad news because I know people work hard on working on these distros, these desktops, but it does have some issues, and let's just talk a little bit about what that is here. So in here, it's got suggested software to use, and they have a SnapPack platform, they have the Flatpak platform, and you have to activate those when you're in here. And one thing I will say about when installing Linux, and I've seen some, and I don't remember which distros do this, but I've seen some when you go to install it, it lets you choose before it's installed what you want in your Linux, on your Linux desktop. So you may not want all of the software that's going to be installed, and so it lets you choose that, or you can just choose all of them. And so I kind of like this hub. The reason why less is more is because they don't put a lot into the menu. They do have some apps in the menu, and I'm not going to go through all those apps because I want to talk about a few things here. So I like the fact that as a new user, maybe, you know, I would say a lot of people don't know what snaps are and flatpaks are. I now understand what flatpaks are, and I started using flatpaks a while ago. Every app I put in, I try to do it as a flatpak. But anyway, so one thing, you have to click on these to activate them. You got to click on them, and that's why they're grayed out, and I don't know if you can see that. I did install the Chrome browser. Firefox, I wanted to use the Flatpak version of Firefox, so I didn't do that here, so I activated the Flatpak. The problem that I had is, well, let's go into the Peppermint hub, because that's where you install software. And so one of the things that I noticed, first thing offhand, is I noticed, let's go to the Snap Store first. So in the Snap Store, you can install the apps from the Snap Store here. But the problem is that once you go to install that app, I went and I installed Krita, okay, but when I installed Krita, it is not here under graphics. Anytime you install a snap pack, it doesn't show up in the menu, and that's one thing I was noticing with some of the other YouTubers that were doing it. And the reason why I wanted to do this, because I wanted to see, and I don't know why it does this. It's probably a bug. I don't think it's because it's in a VM, because everybody that I saw was having the same problem. The Flat Hub, the problem is with the Flat Hub is when you go to install something, you click on it, say install, and it just wants you to save a file. And so you have to go to the command line to install a Flatpak. Now, there's a lot of Linux users out there. I am not your typical Linux user. I am not a command line person. I do everything. If I install a software in Linux Mint, I go through the software manager to do that, and it's very simple, very easy. It's all organized. It's great. You can do a Flatpak. You can do whatever you want to do there. And I know Linux Mint snaps aren't their thing, but you can install a snap manually if you want to. But I don't use snap, so I don't really care about that. But and so, and these aren't the only ways to get your apps here. But I do want to, before I go to the command line, I want to show you something real quick. So obviously you can install stuff. You can install software through the Synaptic Software Center, and I did install HTOP through there. And there's a reason why I installed HTOP through the Synaptic. And then the app images, I actually pulled Stacer from the app image, or from the app image catalog, just to do it. But one thing that's weird is this is not very responsive. This launcher takes a little bit to launch, and then sometimes you can't scroll in here, and I don't know why that is. But at any rate, let's just go. My whole point is that it's not ready. Like if I was a new user, I wouldn't know how to install software in Linux. One of the things that got me to move to Linux is I saw Linux Mint. I saw a YouTuber demonstrate Linux Mint, and I didn't realize how Linux was so graphical on their desktop, and how easy it was. And he never even went to the command line once, and that was the point of his demonstration. And so when you're coming from Windows and you're so used to a graphic interface, you're not used to going to the command line to install stuff. And so what happened was I had to so when I installed FlatHub from that suggested, it didn't install the repositories. In fact, it said when you get into the FlatHub, it says it has a thing for setup, and it shows you how to set up FlatHub through the command line. Well, most new users aren't going to know how to do that, so I had to put this command line in so I could install something from FlatHub. Then I had to go in and install it from the command line and not from the software center there or their hub center. And I looked on their website. Nowhere could I see that this is a beta, but to me this is more like a beta of this desktop. And if they want this to go to the masses, they've got to fix this stuff and make it work and make it a lot easier. Again, there might be a lot of Linux gurus out there that are very good at the command line, don't care if they install stuff from the command line. It's not my cup of tea. And so the other thing is too, is when you do install Snap from the Snap store or center, it does not put it in the menu. So I installed Krita from the Snap store there, but if you go here to graphics, there is no Krita here. So you have to run Krita from the command line to launch it. And that, to me, this is for a desktop. To me, they need to fix this stuff. I mean, I've heard one YouTuber say, oh, that's a bug. It's more than a bug. I mean, I could never recommend this to a new user that's never used Linux before. And if you're a hardcore Linux user, you can't say this isn't for the beginner. This is a beginner software. When I installed it 5 years ago, maybe, it was easy. It was easy to install, easy to use. And so I'm just shocked that these things don't work right. And these are basic things. I mean, XFCE interface does work, obviously. And I like the XFCE interface, but you know, it's snappy, but in order for this to become mainstream, I don't know what's really going on here. And the reason why I went to install something from their Synaptic software center is I wanted to make sure that HTOP showed up in the menu, and it did. HTOP shows up in here. And this is the thing that surprised me too. I thought that Peppermint would use less memory. Now I've launched a few things, and so I don't know if that's affected the memory or not. But anyway, so I just feel like it's hard. Would it be hard for me to recommend Peppermint? And honestly, I wanted to try it on a laptop. But in this state that this is in, I wouldn't be using it myself. There's no way. So they really need to polish this thing so everything works out of the box. I mean, I'm just kind of shocked that these things don't work right. And so, yeah, and I wished so. This is my other thing. It's okay, I guess, that you separate FlatHub and Snaps and Snap. You know, the Debian distro using Synaptics. But it is nice. So, like Linux Mint, for instance, has a software center. Everything's just right there. Yeah, there is a tab that you can click on to just see Flatpaks. But you can also just search, and it pulls up everything, including Flatpaks. Now I know Linux Mint, they're not big Snap people, so that would be separate if you wanted to install Snaps. And I don't worry about that because I'm not a Snap person. I don't know of any Snap apps that I'd be using, so that's not a big deal. And if I want to use it, I guess in Linux Mint, nothing's perfect. I can go ahead and install Snaps and install it that way, which I don't have a use to do that. So But this is just kind of weird. Um, I don't mind these being separated like this, but a new user, I don't know if they're going to understand what an app image is, the Synaptic Software Center, the Flat Hub, the snaps. When I started using Linux, I didn't know what those were. I just went into the software store. I didn't know, even back then when I first started, yeah, there were Flatpaks in there, but I didn't know what a Flatpak was. I just chose whatever the newest version of the software was. That's what I installed, and when a lot of times that would be the Flatpak. But I didn't realize that that's why it was a newer version, because it was the Flatpak. So I just find it a little, for a Linux user it makes sense, but a new person coming over to Linux, I think this would be a little confusing. But it definitely, whether it's confusing or not, it has to work. And then right now, it doesn't work. Snaps don't show up in the menus. Flatpaks have to be installed from the command line. Snaps have to be run from the command line. Those are biggies to me. So I wish I could give this a better review, because when I used Peppermint OS before, I really did like it. And so I'm sorry to be Debbie Downer on this one, but I watched maybe 3 or 4 different YouTubers review Peppermint OS, and they all had the same problems. These stores didn't work right, and that's why I didn't want to even go through showing how to install it, because I wouldn't recommend it to a new user. And so anyway, I'm not trying to rip on this team, the community that's supporting this. I'm just saying that they need to fix these problems and fix them quick, so that it becomes a little bit more user friendly to those that don't know Linux. And even me, where I'm not a Linux expert by any means, so I can get around some of these problems, but I wouldn't use it either. So it's kind of disheartening, because I was really a cheerleader for Peppermint OS. Anyway, this is TG from Tech Made Easy. Have a great day.
Now that was easy peasy.